Gameranx presents another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some raw, straight-up gameplay and some first impressions of the latest games releasing. This time around, we're talking about The Division. Alright, let's talk about this. So many of you guys have been asking, messaging me and tweeting me, Jake, are you going to do a Before You Buy on The Division? And I'm surprised there's a lot of interest because there's a lot of hate for this game, and I'm just going to come right out and say it. I'll give you my personal opinion first, just to get it out of the way. I like this game. I'm having fun with it, and I'm enjoying it. I'm glad I bought it. No one paid me to say that. Stop it. But I can also completely understand why this type of game might not be someone's forte, and I'm going to outline by the end of this video two different types of people and what kind of mind you have whether you should check it out or not. So let's start with what's good. It is a fun, simple shooter. It's kind of like a turn off your brain, play with your friends type of game. The third-person shooting gameplay works good, the cover systems are good, the shooting feels responsive, and I'm just really hooked on the RPG elements, finding loot, getting better guns, upgrading your guns, finding new equipment and armor. You get into that gameplay loop and you get hooked on it, and I definitely am guilty of that. The leveling up systems work great. There's base building that works into leveling up and giving you more abilities and also improving your base and getting you better items. And the abilities and perk tree systems and all that stuff does a great job of actually feeling rewarding and giving you a sense of progression. It really kind of feels like you're doing this grind for a reason. You're trying to unlock the stuff. You're trying to get the things. Now, a lot of people are comparing this game to Destiny, and there are other people who will say, oh, if you compare this game to Destiny, you don't know what you're talking about. I disagree. I think this can be easily compared to Destiny, and I think that's ultimately going to decide what type of person you are if you're going to check this game out or not. What it does better than Destiny in terms of structure, what I really like, is that it actually rewards active exploration. You can wander around this awesomely detailed and frankly probably one of the more realistic New Yorks I've ever seen in a video game, and find random interior or underground locations. You can walk into apartment buildings and break into apartments. You can go and find underground subway stations. And in going out of your way and exploring these places where there's not really a mission or anything to do, you can actually find stuff for your character, weapon parts, clothing parts, anything. And I really just got a kick out of doing that. I actually wanted to explore this beautiful world that Ubisoft took a lot of time to render. It actually made me go out of my way, stray from mission paths, and go rummaging through a building to find a new hat. And in terms of graphics, yeah, there's a graphical downgrade, but the game still looks great. It's probably one of the better multiplayer shooters I've seen on consoles. Console performance is fine, and although I've seen some PC issues here and there, overall it does seem to be good, and if you got a decent enough system, it can do 60 frames per second and look really sexy. I just love the look, the detail, the music is a little 80s synth here and there, and not to mention Garrus does the voice of your little onboard computer thing that is essentially like the ghost from Destiny. So that shit is really good. I love all of that. The game did have some server issues day one, but other than that, now the matchmaking seems pretty damn good, and what I do like is being able to walk up to a mission, and before that I can do matchmaking, change the difficulty, and find some players if I want to do a harder run through with. But now let's talk about the bad here, and there is definitely some stuff that can't be overlooked. Now, the regular gameplay, as I acknowledged, is very much a grind. It's a grindy type of game. Also, the character creation in the beginning totally sucks. Oh my god, what a letdown. It's so limited. It's as limited as the beta, and that is kind of a metaphor for the rest of the game for some players. If you played the beta, you've basically seen everything this game has to offer. There's not a lot of other surprises. The grind and real repetition after a while hits you because it's very apparent. Now, this wouldn't be that much of a problem if the gameplay wasn't so simple. But there's not really a lot to do other than shoot. There's no vehicles. There's not really much in the way of tactics. It's certainly not a tactical shooter. There's no crouch button. There's no jump button. There's limited stealth. Everything really just boils down to shoot the shit out of everything. And there is a story, and while it's not as super half-assed as some other games I know, it is really just there, and it exists to move things forward, and it's completely passable, but really forgettable. But really here, the mission structure and the repetitive nature is just what's going to do people in. Higher level play does get exciting. I like more of a challenge. When you ramp up the challenge, it's good, and when you get more enemy types, things get a little more exciting. But ultimately, what I can say is if you're playing alone, it's going to be very boring. Not to mention the fact that you have to always be online, there's a lot less fun to be had. Despite that, though, I have to go back and praise the Dark Zone for being a kick-ass style PvP, PvE arena. It is just a really good setup, a really good idea, and it's implemented well, and I like the types of games where it just puts you and other players, and it's up to you to either team up and be friends, or kill each other, or betray each other later on, whatever you do. I love that stuff. I love going into Dark Zone, getting better gear and loot. I digress. And other things with matchmaking, some things need to be fixed, okay? Very early on in the beginning of the game, there's a computer computer terminal you have to access, and it's pretty much impossible when there's a lot of other players standing around. That's kind of shitty, and all the players have full collision, and you can't get past them. And, you know, people can block doorways and stuff, and that gets kind of annoying after a while. The matchmaking can be pretty screwy sometimes and unclear. I think it needs a little more clarity and some tweaks, because sometimes if you do matchmaking before you make a run on a mission, you'll find a match and players to play with, but it'll put you on the complete opposite end of the map, and maybe even on the opposite side of where players are, and that's really weird. Why does it do that? So there's a lot of good here, and there's a lot of bad here. I think this game is at its best when you're running around and exploring and doing challenging missions with your friends, running around and running and gunning and shooting the shit out of everything. Playing with players is the absolute way I can recommend this game. If you are a fan of Destiny, and yes, there are Destiny fans out there, or if you're into other recent shooter type games that you've been playing with your friends, maybe like Rainbow Six Siege or something like that, then The Division is a pretty good game to jump into. I'm very impressed that Ubisoft somewhat pulled this off. I think there's a lot more to go, there's a lot more to be added, and a lot more things that can make the game a little more exciting and engaging. But overall, I just really like running around and exploring this cool New York and shooting stuff. So those are the two types of players I was talking about in the beginning. If you're playing alone, don't. And number one, the game balancing is a little iffy, so it's going to be much more challenging playing by yourself. But number two, it gets kind of boring if you're just playing alone. Like to the point where you probably won't even finish all the story missions just because it is so repetitive. But if you are the type where you're going to go in and you're going to play with friends, and if you're the type of person that runs raids and Destiny all the time, then congratulations, The Division is for you. It is a solid and fun third-person shooter, even though it's a little simple. There's just a lot of fun to be had and a lot to explore, and the map, while it doesn't look huge, it is pretty goddamn big. There is a lot of game here in The Division, but you just have to be the type of player that wants to play it. So I kind of laid the groundwork for you guys, what works in the game, what doesn't work, and my personal opinion that I do really like it. Of course, though, you guys know the drill. I want you guys to fight me, because I know a lot of you guys are going to disagree. You can fight me in the comments, or you can tweet me on Twitter, or follow me on Facebook. Let's talk about The Division. But if you are enjoying it, let me know what your favorite bits about it are. Let's talk about your gear. I don't know, whatever you want to talk about The Division, let's talk in the comments below. And of course, you guys know the drill. If you like this video and you like Before You Buys, clicking the like button helps me out, helps us out, lets us do more videos, and subscribing if this is your first time here is a good idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.